right? Let's just say they're selling this, they just want that mailbox money. At that point, you can probably negotiate close to zero down, right? Or maybe less. Or do the strategy, if they want 10% down, break it up. Do 5% at the close and 5% year one.
Mm-hmm.
Or they want 20% down, break it up over a couple of years and explain that by doing this, you can defer your capital gains tax, or you pay less capital gains tax. Because I think the tax code is about $50K a year, assuming you owned it for over a year,
Mm-hmm.
tax free. So why would I give you $100K as a down payment and you're paying, tax on that $50K?
Whatever the tax
We
is.
can break it. I'm giving you $50K a year and it's zero taxes, right?
Okay.
So that can save them a little bit of money right there. So, but if the seller says, you know what, I want to sell this deal, I want to seller finance it to you, but I want to pump this money into something else later down the road, like another business, or maybe I want to do something else with buy my real estate. In that case, your term might be a little bit less, right? So at that point, it's like, okay, well, how much time do you need to execute your value add strategy? Because the goal is you buy it at a certain price, you force depreciation go up, and then you have to get a bank loan on it.
Mm-hmm.
So you need cushion, right? Cushion number one is to do your value add strategy. So you have to renovate all these units, right? And then most likely you kick out tenants, you renovate it, and either rent out to new tenants. And then on top of that, hopefully when you do that, interest rates are reasonable, not like what I'm going through right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So to me, if it's me, I always ask for 5 if they want short term. Then I can work there a little bit, or I can say, hey, if they want 2 years, they're adamant about it. You can say, I'll give you a 2-year term, but I want an auto extension if I'm unable to cash out refinance with another lender.
Mm-hmm.
And because the sellers are usually confident, oh yeah, my apartment will cash out refinance easy, because most owners are confident with their deal, right?
Yeah.
But then that's how you protect yourself while also giving them what they want.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would do. I would say, hey, I'll give you 2 years. I'll ask for 5. If they want 2, I'll give you 2 years, but please, at the end of 2 years, if I try to cash out refinance of another bank or get another loan on it and I'm not successful, I want this auto extended for another 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
That way it protects you.
Mm-hmm.
And same thing again, right? The next 2 years, it has to auto extend. So you always have to build that in as your protection. So that's what I would recommend. But yes, obviously, if it was me and you, yeah, I don't want 0% down, 0% interest, and as long term as possible.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you were to ask me, that's what I would want. And no banks. You can close. All you need is 30 days. Give yourself like 3-4 weeks of due diligence, and then after that, another 2 weeks to close. Right? And then. But typically it's hard to get 0 done because they want some skin in the game. But you can say like, hey, I'm renovating your units. Right? So technically, if something happens to me and you foreclose on me, you got all the money I pumped into that deal. That's my skin in the game.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah.
Right? If I'm spending 20K to renovate per unit and I'm renovating like 20 units, that's my skin in the game.
Mm-hmm.
If I fail and you take over the property as a bank, then you got your property back plus all the renovations I did.
Mm-hmm. And the time and effort.
And the time and effort. And you got to maybe cruise for a couple of years and get cash flow, right? So that's how you got to think, right? If you kind of see how I'm thinking, like, okay, how do I give you what you want, but still make it beneficial for me? And once they see that you're thinking and talking like that, it builds trust. That this guy's not just trying to come in here and fleece me. He's actually trying to like make it a win-win situation. And he seems very reasonable. Like most people are reasonable. It's a give and take, right? Like, yeah, I'll if you give me this, I'll give you this. It's kind of like that, right? So that's why for me, like, hopefully my mobile park closes and then I cash out refinance my 20 unit, but I'll be sitting on all my initial cash. And I'm not going to be looking for deals for a while, but in this current interest rate market, I'm going creative finance all the way. That's probably the method approach if I were to find my next deal. Because they probably got a good interest rate they bought in the past like 7 years. Right? To be honest, it's probably good. And I know the market that I'm in. I know what I can do to raise the rents, and I just can tell them like, I'll give you your price, but please sell it for the deal. I can close faster, and my skin in the game is my down payment or my renovation. I'll give you a little bit. I'll be, I'll try to get like maybe 5% or something as low as possible. I'm saying my down payment is I'm going to renovate these units. for you, and make this nice and show them a list of what I do. Because typically, I usually will ask, like, I do my my inspection, I get all the things that need to be repaired, and I send them the list. The list and say, hey, I want seller repair credit. This is how I cut my. If you watch my video, my 2016, that's how I cut my down payment in half. My down payment was supposed to be 120K. I had about 120K worth of repairs, and I asked the seller, "Can I get 120K in seller repair credit?" I had a list of everything. New roof, 30K. All these water heaters are out of code and they're end of life. It's going to cost me $600 per water heater to replace this many water heaters. Electrical panel is out of compliance. It's a safety hazard. This much to replace each electrical panel. These condensers are, I broke it down. And then I freaked the guy out a little bit. Like, oh shoot, like I don't want to give him 125K, 120K. And he just said, I'm not, the property's as is, but if you remove some stuff, I may consider. I just said, okay, let me talk to the property manager, see what needs immediate rectification to make sure it's a safe environment for the tenants. So I cut the list in half, and it ended up becoming 60K, and he agreed. So what did I do? I cut my down payment in half. So I only put 60K down. So I only downed about 12.5% versus 25, right? So do the same thing. If I'm buying this property, seller financing, I'm trying to pitch 0% down, I'll still pay for my inspection report. Inspect all units. Don't be cheap. Inspect all units. Get bids for everything that needs repair, and just say, hey, look at this list. When I come, I'm gonna make all these repairs. That's my down payment. Because when you show them a hard physical number, and you had like general contractor, inspector, inspect it, give you quotes, it's not me versus you. It's me looking at this data point objectively, or this, this inspection report objectively together, and say, I'm gonna fix all these issues. So that's your down payment. So it's that, or you can negotiate at the end. Maybe at the end, once I'm done doing my cash out refinance, I'll give you your down payment at the end. That can be too, right? Like, hey, I want to give you 5% down, but can I do it after I did the full value add strategy and did my cash out refinance? And I'll pay you a lump sum then. But until then, my renovation is my down payment. So you always have to think, like, what skin in the game do you have? And if you openly share the skin in the game that you have in this deal, it makes you seem more trustworthy, right? That's why, like, for my seller that's like ghosting me, I'm only going to build trust of him if he gives me more money, because he has more skin in the game, more to lose. If he doesn't, and he's not serious, I cancel the contract. So always think about, like, what's the skin in the game, and that's how you'll know their motivations, and vice versa. So that's how I would go about it if I were you.
Got it. Yeah, I'm definitely going to present him with some options.
What were you thinking? Like, what type of terms were you thinking, or what's the purchase price and the rents? Do you have those numbers?
So this was actually that 4-unit I was telling you about.
Oh, got it.
And just trying to see, I was trying to see where he wanted something larger. So he didn't really come out and say it. So I was just going to go ahead and crunch the numbers. I have a background in lending. So the broker I used to work for, she has a lot of private money lenders. So if it came down to that, I was going to try and do, interest free, and then, get a private money for the down payment, and then, just structure it that way.
Yeah, I mean, what type of terms? I mean, I got quoted 11.5% for, like,
From a private,
from private money and like hard money, interest only, right? So I'm like, geez, I mean, I was at 9.5% about a year ago, but about 11.5%. So, if that's your loan plus you're financing the down payment, you're basically, all in 100% finance. So that's gonna be rough to cash flow, unless you're doing like a midterm rental or short-term rental model and bumping up that cash flow. That's not, yeah.
That is another thing, because the area that it's in, it's really good, and so they're all 2-1. So I think an Airbnb would be good, but I would just look at the numbers depending on what I could get for the private lender. See what that would be.
Because that one is flex, right? So it's not valued based on the income; it's valued based on the sales comps. So,
yeah, and then it's like there's my other option would be just to buy it outright from him because I was looking at what's on market, and there's a 6 unit, on market for like 823. And I was like, he wants 1.2 for it, but I was like, that's way too much for a quad. Even though it's been renovated, the last renovations were done in 17. But I would rather just pay him like 900 and get a loan for it and just do it that way.
Yeah, I mean, if you can like get him to agree to some like seller financing terms, you might be able to wholesale the deal and make like, not much, but you might make like 10 to 50K depending on what you negotiate and for the right buyer, right? So that's what I would consider. Like, don't like just because you can't take down yourself, it's fine, but you can still leverage this contact, leverage this negotiation. You lock it under contract. Say, hey, I already got this seller finance deal. I got private money lenders lined up, and then you can wholesale this deal over to somebody. That would make more sense for them if they're doing a 1031 exchange, or maybe they are an Airbnb expert and they can do it. So like, just don't like when you're analyzing. That's how I think of it.
Don't force a deal.
Don't force it for you, right? If it feels a little bit forced for you, don't do it, right? Like it's not worth it. You can still get it under contract, negotiate those terms, and just wholesale it. Take that profit, and you can save it for the next one that you want to buy, right? So that's what I kind of learned, like, because I know you get so like fixated, especially I send mailers out, right? I do direct mail, and I get so like fixated on my buyers and wanting it work for me. But like sometimes it's just like, you know what, don't force it, and you can say, hey, you know what, it doesn't work for me, but honestly, I can get this under contract. I think I might be able to have some people that want to buy it at that price that you want. Like, can I get under contract, and I'll try to reach out to my network and do it, and wholesale this deal, and I'll get paid a little commission at closing by the buyer, not by you, but by the buyer, right? So as long as that, that's what I would do. And like you said, for the right person, I already identified it. If it's Airbnb, find an Airbnb operator, and if it's that hot of an area, yeah, maybe they can make way more. They make 5K per unit, and then that's 20K. And it might make sense for them, right? But rental and with these interest rates, it doesn't sound like it would work for like me or you, right?
And that was another thing too. I was thinking like maybe if I could do it like a 12-month interest and get all the tenants out of there because they just re-sign the lease. Because I know as far as the market rent should easily be about $2,000. Because I actually drove right by the area today. But he has it rented for $1,300, $1,350, So I know it's residential, so you can't really raise the value by increasing rents like that. But from a cash flow perspective, the numbers would make sense.
Yeah, and then just the natural appreciation, right? So you're going to be a little bit at the mercy of natural appreciation. But like I said, it depends what your objective is. If you kind of want it and cash flowing it, and it makes sense at Airbnb. So like if it was me and I know that's the end buyer, that's who I'd pitch my deal to if I want to sell it, right?
Yeah.
Because you can find a lot of people who want to do Airbnb. Atlanta, Georgia is getting kind of hot. I know that. So that's how I would do it. So it may not make sense for you, but if you can negotiate and get some terms on the table, hey, you have a leg up at least, right? Just say, hey, like here's a deal. At least you can negotiate some stuff that might be appealing to another investor. So that's what my gripe is about brokers. They never lay it on a platter to make it attractive to a buyer, right? Like for me, I structured my mobile home park. They're gonna assume I seller financed my deal, right? Or no, I bought it seller financed. But on top of that, I'm gonna carry a second position. I'm gonna be in second lien position as well, so that it reduces their down payment and they can assume the loan. Right? So like I already thought ahead, like, all right, like if I want this deal to close fast, I have to be willing to be in a second lien position. Flexible, right? So I already laid it on a platter. And despite that, my buyer is still being difficult. I'm like, I literally I handed you this like beautiful like castle, and all you have to do is just communicate, and then you're not. So that's what I'm saying. Like, if you think high level as an investor, it makes you better in every aspect, right? Like for me, if I was a broker, like I would translate very well to being a broker. Now that I know how terrible brokers are, and because I actually own assets and I know how to structure things to be favorable for the end buyer, right? So, but most brokers are not willing to go that extra length. They just like, here's the deal.
And just want a commission when they could, provide more value.
They
Yeah.
just want to get their commission, like that 3%
Yeah.
commission, and provide no additional value whatsoever. And I just said, well, why do you think people don't want to work with you, right? It's a relationship-based business. If you have happy customers, what do investors do? They come back.
Mm-hmm.
If you come back, like if I bought one good deal from you, believe me, I'm coming back to you multiple times. I'm ready to get another deal. So if you don't even try, I like at this point, I'm like, I don't even want to work with brokers. They're useless to me right now. 99% are useless, but maybe that 1% one day will come to me.
They might get one, yeah.
Or maybe I'll become the 1%. Yeah.
If you don't mind me asking, because I remember in one of your previous videos with your mobile home park, your plan was to, I think, add more, uh, you know, uh,
Homes too.
homes. Yeah, homes too,
Yeah.
excuse me. And then after that, or collect rent. And then I think the projected ARV was going to be like 6 million or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, how far along did you get in that? Or were you just looking to cash out? And is that why you're just selling it?
Yeah, so it's a huge value add park. So when I bought it, it was like 30 out of 200 lots were occupied.
Mm-hmm.
And then out of the 30, like a lot were not, there's some tenants that weren't paying. So you basically come in and evict these tenants. And then there's a lot of vacant homes that were just sitting there that need repair. Right. And then what happens is when you have a bunch of vacant homes and not many tenants living there, like you have a bunch of homeless and kind of transients trying to stay in there. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So basically I came in, I started fixing up these homes. Right. I had to come in, fix up these homes, and then it costs money, right? You have to come and renovate these. And then after that, after I fixed up a decent amount of them, I started bringing in brand new homes.
Mm-hmm.
I basically brought in brand new homes, 100% financed, right? And these homes are about 45K all in, right? That's including purchase, installation, and setting up the skirting, the deck, everything. All in 45K, right? 100% financed.
Mm-hmm.
So my monthly payment is going to be about $400, and I can rent these out for around $750.
Mm-hmm.
So my net is only about $350 per unit, right? So what I quickly learned is when I was buying it, I'm like, it was a lot more capital intensive and time intensive than I would like. And I just thought like, at this point, it's not really worth it for me. And I think I did enough to prove the model to a syndicator who's a larger operator, and they can come in with more money and fill up the park, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I brought to around like 50.
Okay.
But if assuming all 200 was full, yes, this thing is easily worth over 10 million. But it's a lot of work. Like I basically need to be full time doing it. This deal, like living at the park doing it. Versus me, I'm still working full time and I'm doing my apartments as well as this mobile home parks. I just thought, at this point, like too much of my time, too much energy is focused at that. And that's what made me decide to sell. And, unfortunately, the selling process hasn't been the most smooth for me. You do have a different type of buyer for mobile home parks, right? Versus apartments, you're probably gonna have a little more, I'll describe it like more sophisticated buyers, more sophisticated people. And yeah, it's just kind of like basically more of the story that I learned is if you want to buy a mobile home park, you better be committed to buying a lot of mobile home parks and being vertically integrated because you need property management in-house, you need your renovation crew in-house, you need an installer team in-house because all those points I just listed will be points of delay and points of money, and you're at the mercy of those people for your value. So what I learned was if I were to invest with a syndicator for a mobile home park, so what I learned was I want to do mobile home parks again by myself, right? And in the Southeast, it's like Georgia even, it's mostly park-owned homes, so you're like a landlord. Versus if the tenants own their home, then they just pay you lot rent. It's a little more passive.
Yeah.
The problem is in some pockets of Alabama and Georgia, they don't have that homeowner mindset, right? So you put them on a rent-to-own model, but with rent-to-own model, it sounds great and dandy on paper. Hey, you're going to pay me 50 extra bucks a month for 5 years, and after that, you own it. That sounds great to say, right? But the reality is the one time that water heater breaks and it costs them $500 and they can't afford it, well, guess what? They're going to break their rent-to-own contract. So on paper, sounds great to say. Reality, how many people actually make it out of rent to own? No.
Yeah, it's very far and few.
It's hard, right? And then that's why I learned, like, me as an individual is not worth it. So I'd rather just do apartments. Got a great team, great property management. If property management sucks, I can fire them and have a replacement easily. Mobile home park, you know, I have an offsite property manager who manages my onsite property manager. My offsite property manager, I call them a C. They're not great, they're not terrible. But how can I replace them? If they're terrible, how can I have no one to replace them with? Right? And same with onsite manager. If the onsite manager is terrible, you get rid of them. You're gonna have to screen and bring in a new onsite manager. And usually you pick a resident, right? So it's just like, to me, it's just way too many pieces to operate and a lot more hands-on, a lot more capital intensive, that it's just not worth it. Like I honestly would rather do single family homes than do mobile home parks at this point. But I learned a lot doing it, you know. To me, like, you know, if I'm at the assuming this closes, I should make a decent amount of money, but the most of the money is kind of carried back as a second position. So I'm not really guaranteed that money per se. But for me, as long as I can get the majority of my money I put into the deal and get out of the deal and then get monthly cash flow after that, I'm fine with that, right? I don't want to get too greedy, and I'd rather just double down on apartments in Oklahoma where I have a really, right? So I have a video coming out talking about what I learned by scaling rapidly and just having shiny object syndrome. And you know, if you're just good at one thing, just do it, and you can get rich. Like, honestly, you could just buy a bunch of fourplexes in your market over the long period of time. You'll be very wealthy doing that, right? There's no right or wrong answer. For me, I'm small multifamily, and I don't syndicate, right? Because I don't want to do partners right now. Doesn't make sense for me right now. And I can build. Yes, I'm gonna build slower, but I mean, once you own like a couple hundred units,
it's ownership, yeah.
Yeah, like, do I want to like have to deal with like investors? Like maybe one investor is going through a divorce and they want to cash out the deal, and now I'm like stressing out dealing with it. Versus if it's just me, it's more in my control, right? So like what's your goal? Like maybe if I have enough real estate to leave my day job, be financially free, maybe I will syndicate. But even then, like, do I want that job? You know?
No.
So it really depends what your goal is. So like to me, I'm like, I could have just done single families in California and become wealthy off that. I could have just done apartments in Oklahoma and be wealthy off that. Like, why did I deviate and go into mobile home parks? I tried an e-commerce Amazon drop shipping store, which I lost money on. I closed it down. It's not worth it. I tried opening up a pharmacy. I'm a pharmacist. I said, forget it. It's too much work. You know, like, why am I complicating myself? Like, just do one or two things that you know very well, and just do it for a long time, and you will be very wealthy doing that. Like, you know, maybe not hundreds of millions, but you'll be good enough, right? So that was kind of my kind of epiphany. And that's what kind of led me to selling it as well. Like, you know, like, I think I could bring this deal all the way. Like, if I really wanted to, I could probably sell it to a syndicator, but still retain equity in the deal. You know, like, hey, whatever I put in, that's my equity in the deal, and you give me some equity, and then they bring it the rest of the way. That's another method that I thought about as well. But I just said, you know what, I don't think the mobile home park, it's not my cup of tea. You know, it's way too much work and way too many factors out of my control, and I don't like that. So for me, it's too much risk than I would like. But this is value add mobile home park, right? Versus you buy a turnkey mobile home park, different
And
story.
seller finance at that too.
Yeah. Like, if it's a turnkey mobile home park, not many issues, and all you're doing is like, it's, let's just say 80% occupied, and you just bring in like one or two homes and it's like 100% occupied. Okay, maybe. And it's all tenant owned homes, maybe. But even then, like, it's just like, why even dive into that when you're already when I'm good at apartments already? And that's like my specialty. So it's just like, is it worth the squeeze to go there? That's the kind of thing I'm hearing. I'm even hearing from mobile park syndicators, like Brandon Turner from Bigger Pockets. You know, he's just like, yeah, my team, 80% of my team is all mobile home park, and 20% of my team is apartments, but we have the same amount of each asset class. So it's kind of telling, right? Like right there. Like, and like selling, like, okay, if I want to sell let's say I'm sick of my assets, right? Trying to sell a mobile home park, you have less buyers versus trying to sell an apartment complex. Many buyers. I get cold calls every day, or not every day, once a month at least, wanting to buy my apartment complex. No one calls me about my mobile home park, right? So, it's just like you want to think about your exit because you may hate it. Like maybe right now you want to scale and do big, but maybe you hit a certain point where you're like, you know what, I just want to unload all these and live my life or whatever. And if your apartments or even fourplexes, it's easier to sell, right? Like if I were to sell a single family home, boom, 30 days, easy. Probably all cash, right? Versus a mobile home park, it's like, oh, you got to do their due diligence and then, raise their money. And it's just a lot of steps. So, so that's what some people don't think about. Like, it sounds cool to say, but like, it's so much work. Like, it's so much work to do it. And syndicators only talk about the good stuff because they're trying to sell you to buy. They're fun. But I operate. I know like the reality. No way. Like, and I kind of respect them a little bit. Like, wow, it's a lot of work. It's not easy. That so yeah. So cool. Any last questions? I kind of went a little bit over here.
Yeah, one more. So I've been looking at some of the deals, that these guys have been buying, and I noticed the length of, the mortgage company, and the term, and they're like, 2 to 3 years. So I'm guessing there's mainly more value add, and just unloading it after that, or maybe they might refinance. But I called them up, and they said that they're a balance sheet lender, and that it's really, I guess, deal dependent, like the terms are on the deal. What are your thoughts on those types of lenders as opposed to traditional, 25% down, 30-year term? Like, what's kind of?
Yeah. So my thoughts is there's basically pros and cons to each type of lender, right? So for me, I call them like tools in the toolbox, and you need multiple tools, right? You need a hammer, a screwdriver, plier, as an example. So like for me, yes, the best terms, it's going to be like your traditional lender, right? Like for me, I use Bank of the West for my 26 unit. I'm trying to cash out refinance on my Bank of the West for my 20 unit. And for my 20 unit, they gave me 30-year AM, 7-year fixed, 7.5% interest. And I can cash out refinance my down payment and my renovation costs, right? That's the best terms, but they're going to scrutinize my tax returns, everything. Right. And my tax return doesn't look pretty right now because I'm doing this huge value add mobile home park where I'm pumping in a lot of money. I really have to tell them, like, I'm in the process of selling it right now. So they just said, okay, well, if you're in the process of selling it, then, hopefully that's going to improve your DTI, and it will, right, once it's sold. So they give you the best terms, but they're going to look at your tax returns with a magnifying glass. They literally look at everything. Like, why did your W-2 income go down for the past 3 years? Why is this expense so high? Is this one time? Is this recurring? You're literally under like a judge getting scrutinized. But if you can make it through it, you get good terms, right? On the flip side, if you're willing to pay 11.5%, so 4.4 more, the lenders don't care. No tax returns. They just look at the DSCR, right? They look at your income, and that's it. They're like right now, if Bank of the West fails, I can get 11.5%, pull all my money, but I'm paying 11.5% on my loan. So at that point, I wouldn't pull out all my money. I just would replace my loan, hard money loan with this loan. But it's ironic because my hard money loan's 11.5%, and this DSCR loan is 11.5%. So I'm like, it's kind of the same. So I'm actually extending my hard money loan to hopefully, 6 months. So hopefully in 6 months, interest rates kind of cool off a little bit, and maybe I can get Bank of the West to bite if they back out. So I just say it's like pros and cons, and just know that, that's what you do, right? If I want easy, no documents, let's say I have no W-2, my tax return looks terrible. Like I have a W-2, a high income W-2, my tax return looks terrible. Like this 2 years ago, they would never question me. So, I would say just run it by both and just keep your options open. And it may suck to do it temporarily, but just know it's temporary, right? Like, like refinance again in like a couple of years. So, so that's kind of my thoughts. And like right now I'm engaging multiple, and same with local community banks. Same thing. They look at my tax return, they're asking me questions about it, but the interest rates are 8.5 to 9%, 9.5. So it's still higher than Bank of the West. and it's amortized over 20 years, only fixed for 3. So there's more risk, right? Fixed is less, interest rate's higher, the amortization is less. So what does that mean? My monthly payment goes up. So, but they might be easier to work with because they're local to the area and they know your apartment complex, right? So I reach out to all 3. And I just want to know my options so I can pick the best option. If option 1 doesn't work, I move on to number 2. Move on to number 3, right? So that's the way I view lenders. It's not this or this. You want as many lenders as possible under your Rolodex, and then you reach out to all of them when you do deals. So that's how I kind of do it right now.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's it. What I have for now. I sent out some mailers today actually, so maybe hopefully by next week. I'm still doing my SMS as well. So if I get any deals,
hop on next week.
Next Wednesday. Yeah.
Hop on next week and keep me posted. But all right, man. Thank you both for hopping on, and thank you so much for talking with me today.
Absolutely.
And hope to see you guys next week.
All right, see you next week. Bye.